What's the problem with hip-hop media? What up, words? Your boy Challz Brown back again, talking facts. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Keep sending those Cashaps to CLBMG gang. Join that membership. I appreciate you. Listen, I got a short list of hip-hop media personality, and I want to talk about what I get hit with in my comments the most. Most people don't see all of my comments, but I see mostly all of my comments. And a lot of people come into the comments, and not just mine, other, dare I say, hip-hop media personalities. I don't consider myself hip-hop media, but some people do, right? So I got to go with that. And I put together a small list because the discussion is huge. And I want to have this discussion because in my comments, people say stuff like, why you keep doing stories on insert the artist, right? Drake. Why you keep doing stories on Kendrick? Ignore Kanye. Don't do those stories, right? Et cetera, et cetera. No matter who I do the story on, there's going to be somebody out here like, why are you covering this? Doesn't matter what it is, right? When I did my Buckshot Shorty story, some people were like, why are you covering this? Like, who cares? Like, so it's always somebody going to say, who cares, right? But at the same time, and anyone that does quote unquote hip hop media can attest, most of you guys gobble up those stories that you say you're tired of. Like, I'm just going to be honest. Most people are looking for the most fascinating Drake thumbnail and headline so they can click it and watch it and get the information. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm trying to tell you is when you say, why do you keep doing these stories, but you gravitate, you're moving the needle toward those stories when hundreds of thousands of you are gravitating to that story, right? On one hand, everybody's sick of Drake, and here we are 11 months later, you still feverishly eating up every Drake headline like it's brand new inventory. This stuff is going on 10, 11 months. I think we're about to hit the 12th month of I think Like That came out this month last year. So we're about to do 12 months of this saga. I think it was April 19th, something like that. We're about to get the anniversary of Like That, which triggered this war. And I want to talk about hip-hop media. It's bigger than just that, right? But I want to talk about it as a whole. And I have a short list of who I consider hip-hop media. I know you're going to say, Challz, you forgot some people. You forgot somebody. But this is a short list, right? And I know that there's more. But to get a small picture of the huge compass of what we call hip-hop media, we have to understand where we start at, right? So this short list, if you're somebody who frequents YouTube a lot and you follow hip-hop religiously and you know what stories resonate, this list will make some sense to you. So let me just start here. I'm going to say Curtis King, Rob Marksman, Chig Smooth, Say Cheese, Sway in the Morning, right? Rory and Maul, for what that's worth. No Life Shack, yes, he's a reactor, but he does push hip-hop, okay? And that's how vast this list is. You got reactors pushing the needle. What's my guy over here? Screwface Jean. He's pushing the needle of hip-hop. Whether you like him or not, he informs you of hip-hop, even when he's reacting to whatever song he's reacting to. FD Signifier. He does a vast variety of things, but he's pushing hip-hop. That's hip-hop media. Company Man, one of the most distinguished members in this whole situation. We got Wayno, right? You know Wayno, Deleted, Fantano, right? I know you have a love-hate relationship with Fantano, but you go right to them videos and you go right, skip all the way to the end to see if it's a like 6. Don't lie. You know you watch Fantano too. Art of Dialogue, who's come up, and I'm sure Vlad, which Vlad TV's on here, I'm sure Vlad would have a lot to say about Art of Dialogue because he feels he bit his style, but they're both important, right, in this hip-hop space. Joe Budden, for what it's worth, right? And this whole thing is going to make sense at some point, but this is what we're talking about. Academics, right? Adam 22, Trap Lord Ross, right? The Breakfast Club, right? Hot 97 with Ebro in them and all of that, and Angie Martinez, all of that comes under the umbrella of hip hop, urban politics, right? My guy over there, urban politics, doing this thing. And I know, like I said, I'm gonna miss some people. I don't know if I said Torre or not, and I don't know if I said Rapaholics, right? But I know I'm gonna miss some people. And I give you that. I understand. But that's just a tip of the iceberg of what we're calling hip-hop media. Now, everybody on that list, if they were in this chat for some reason or another, they would all tell you that they have certain stories that they know aren't going to do well. Okay? Ever since Source Magazine started fighting for shelf space with XXL magazine, this thing has turned into a competition for eyeballs. At one point in time, Source Magazine was the only game in town. They were competing against Right On Magazine, Vibe Magazine, like stuff that had no chance of beating them in their space. I'm just going to be honest. We used to have to, you waited for that Source Magazine. That was the Bible every month coming to your, if you got the subscription, some of us got the subscription, it's 12 months for her, $39, whatever it was, you would get it mailed to your house, right? Or you would go to the store like me. I bought it, let's be honest, you would buy it based on the cover, but you were going to buy the Source Magazine anyway. And at one point in time, Source Magazine was the game, right? Yeah, you could go watch Rap City, The Basement, or you could go watch MTV Raps, da-da-da. That show was only an hour, and they were cramming in so much nonsense, it wasn't that detailed. You were going to the Source, and they had everything. They had in-depth articles about people you wanted to know about. We learned about Cash Money's movement through the Source Magazine. We learned about No Limit through Source Magazine. We learned about Biggie and Tupac through Source Magazine. We learned about a lot of things through that book before Benzino messed it up. Now, I know a lot of you go back in time and they say, how you guys even trust a magazine that Benzino, but we didn't know he was a part of Source Magazine until the writers in Source came out and rebelled against him, changing his he changed his group's rating. I believe it was Made Men. I think they gave them a three mics or something, and he changed it to 4, and it ruined the credibility, because I'm sure when we opened that magazine and saw that Made Men, whatever, just be honest, whatever mics they had was not it. So we were like, how was this even 3? Like, and I'm sure he pushed it to 4. So he kind of ruined the credibility of the Source, because a lot of the writers started to come out and verbally be against the magazine itself. And that was a turning point. We realized that this stuff isn't as pure as we thought. We used to take the mics at their word. I'm just going to be honest. Like, if Wu-Tang came out or Jizz's new album came out and Source said 3.5, it was 3.5. And I know some of us was like, oh, I need another mic, but we didn't really. Most of the time, we accepted those mics. Unless it was like egregious, like when they wouldn't give Outkast the 5 mics. Most of the time, I'm just going to be honest, we accepted what the Source said as law. And the Source had no competition. And one day, I believe it was, who was it? Was it Elliot Wilson that left the Source, and he ended up over at XXL Magazine, and he started the drama. And what happened was, he started to come for their neck. No one had ever come for their neck. Whoever it was, I believe it was Elliot Wilson, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't mention him in the media, but he's a part of the hip hop media as well. And it was a problem. They started to fight for eyeballs. They started to engage in drama and beef. At one point, the Source was in a full-on war with Eminem. Once Benzino was outed as one of the owners of the Source, he became a full-on card-carrying Eminem hater. And he used the magazine's reach against Eminem, right? And it was a problem. And what had happened was, XXL started to capitalize on any and every single type of issue that started to be a problem for Source Magazine. XXL was right there to say, you ain't real. Y'all ain't real. He's all right, but he's not real, right? And XXL became real. And we started to lean toward XXL and Rap Pages and all these other books, right? And Source was fighting for shelf space. And that's when the tug of war with the media began. you started to have 2 books to choose from. They both expensive as fuck. Like $6 is a lot of money, gang. I'm just gonna be honest, for a magazine. Or I think it was $8.99, something crazy like that. So yeah, we was like, yo, I'm not buying both these books, right? Just gonna be honest. I used to steal them both. I'm just gonna be honest. But at the same time, every now and then I would have to pay for them, right? I'm just gonna be honest. But at the same time, it began to be where, okay, Source seems a little, they're not doing it like they used to, because Double XL has all of the extra shit. Double XL was bringing you the drama. Source started to try to imitate that. And then we got shows starting to imitate that. We started to get Rap City is trying to be realer than Yo MTV Raps. And it just became who had the most drama. Right? It just became who had the most going on. The channels themselves, BET started to try to have more drama than MTV. We're realer. Right? And that translated to the internet. But for a time, you actually had to have some real interviews. You actually had to sit down with some real artists, because that's what we really wanted. When we peel back the layers, yes, the drama was good, but we really wanted to know what Nas really thought. If you can pin Nas down and get a real good interview out of him, right? We wanted these interviews. We wanted to hear what Master P had to say, right? And it became, okay, we got a little bit of real life conversation from artists and these new moguls, but you still had the drama. You had 50 Cent, got shot 9 times, and now whenever he can speak on Ja Rule, he's there, right? We started to see a whole different thing going on. Even on the radio, they started to have freestyles, and these guys will come up to the radio, and while they're live on the radio, they would shout out or call out somebody else. And it became, okay, let me see if I can get down to that radio fast enough and catch you there. Or like when Biggie went on the radio and said, yo, Snoop and Dogg Pound are here in New York filming a music video calling New York out. Y'all gonna let them do that? And they went down to that video shoot and shot it up, right? You had a mix of both. But what we didn't understand was drama was starting to become live and direct, right? Lil' Kim had a whole bang bang down at Hot 97, and they stopped the interviews altogether, if I'm not mistaken, right? So hip hop, the streets became a little too real. And the internet, when we started to figure out how to use the internet, we started to realize early, let's just be honest, that yeah, those Vlad TV interviews early, he was getting a lot of good footage, a lot of interviews. The interviews were popping, but they also got a little crazy when Joe Budden, right? Joe Budden TV, and Joe Budden went and beat up, what's this guy? He was beefing with the other rapper. I can't remember his name offhand. And he went with his camera, and I think they caught his friend. They didn't catch him. They caught his friend when he opened the door, and they filmed it, beat him up. I could be wrong. Somebody could correct me. They beat up somebody, and they posted it online. I believe it was to Joe Budden TV. And I think that became more infamous for Joe Budden than all of his rapping combined. He became an internet celebrity. And from that moment on, everything about Joe Budden was all about what was happening in real time. It wasn't even about his music. And a lot of us love mood music. And the first Joe Budden album, which is like, let's just be honest, he was just, I like pain music. So if Joe Budden's first album was a pained out, drugged out, just depressed young man that just was inside his own head, and he had a lot of emotions to get out, okay? And people like us that like that pain music, we like Joe Budden's first album. But Joe Budden didn't sell them records from that first album. Joe Budden became an internet star by having drama online. So it's no surprise that, I want to say, what is that, 20 years later, Joe Budden still goes viral for having drama online to this day. You kids don't know Joe Budden, the rapper. You just know Joe Budden for the internet antics, but it's been a long time coming. So once people like Vlad started to realize, wait a minute, If I can get these people to say these things on camera, whether it's a fight or not, if I can just get them to diss each other or just get a good interview that's going to get traction, it's all about going viral. And that's where we at now. It's all about getting that viral moment, that viral, that sound bite. So now we're fighting each other for these sound bites. Hip hop media, we can't just rely on getting a good Doechii interview, right? And let's just be honest, some of the biggest artists in the game don't want to interview with you in the first place. These artists, they only sitting down with certain people. And I know the complaints, a lot of these artists, they not even sitting down with hip hop media at all. Nobody on that list could get some of these artists, but they'll go lay up with, what's her name? What's the girl from that TikTok girl that Drake got in the bed with? Right? That's now she's black all of a sudden, right? Lost her whole family. They'll go lay down with her and have a whole conversation. But they won't sit down with hip hop so-called media. And I say all that to say this. We have gotten to a point where you can become the king of this thing just for being able to get the algorithm to go to your page. So I want to say last week, the kings of hip hop media, they called themselves the kings of hip hop media. I believe it was DJ Vlad, Trap Lord Ross, Whack 100 for some weird ass reason, Adam 22. Who else was in that thing? Damn, I can't remember who else was in that. It was like 2 or 3 other people. And they were calling themselves the kings of hip hop media. They did a 3.5 hour podcast. And they spent most of the time talking about Big U, the Rico case, and a bunch of gang stuff. Right? And you know what's crazy about that? Sadly, that's where hip hop media low key is at. Hip hop in and of itself, a lot of hip hop creators spent the last couple days talking about Scooter being murdered, or talking about, who was it that just got, I think it was Say So P and Sauce Walker, and of course more Drake, and of course more Kendrick. No one's breaking new artists. No one's really sitting down with bigger artists. The thing about this thing is, you guys would rather listen to Charleston White. You would rather listen to Charleston White. We've become a society, and I am going to say the hip hop media is driven by the fans. It's driven by the fans. And I'm sure there is a channel out there, there's a dozen or more channels doing great work, doing what No Jumper used to do, finding new talent, interviewing them, and doing the Lord's work in hip hop. But a lot of you don't want to see that. I'm just going to be honest. You don't want to know who's popping, who's bubbling. Yeah, you're going to find them. You're going to see him. You're going to figure out that Boss Man D-Lo is the shit, but you ain't going to figure it out until his TikTok, you've seen his song be clipped up 400,000 times by TikTok dancers, and then you're going to say, oh, I like that record. Who's that guy? Right? That's how you're going to find Boss Man D-Lo. You're going to go and find his Instagram, or you're going to go find his YouTube, and then you're going to be a new fan. Right now, you're not finding these artists from interviews. You're finding them from TikTok dances, Instagram shorts. Sometimes random blogs will break an artist, but it ain't the radio no more. The radio, the artist is a year already popping before the radio even puts it on. So the problem with hip hop media is we're forced into and I use we loosely, we're forced into a do or die situation. A lot of us have to make money, and in a lot of ways, when you start making money, you don't want to stop making money. So a lot of you are like, I'm sick of Drake. I'm sick of you guys talking about Drake. As you clicked a Drake video, as you've already watched half of the video, as you've wasted more time putting in the comments about how you're sick of the Drake videos. I got people in my chats now like, I know that's how you eat, but you do mad Drake videos. I get it. But I just can't watch all that stuff, and I understand that. But the internet, there is a mass market out there that wants to hear the next thing about Kendrick and Drake. It's to the point now you can't even breathe in this space unless you have a take on Kendrick and or Drake. So we're at the point now that you're boxed in because the people won't respond to much else that you're going to give them. Unless you go down that scary rabbit hole of doing deep dives into gangster activity, RICO conversations, gang banging. Unless you go full on Adam 22 and no jumper, right? Which some of us are not willing to do. On my channel, you're not going to see me doing deep dives into the Rolling 60 Crips. For one, I don't know no Rolling 60 Crips, and I don't live nowhere near there. I don't need to be discussing that on some War and Chirac shit. I'll stop doing YouTube altogether if it comes down to I got to do gang activities to make my channel work. So no, I'm not going to cover stuff like that. I'm not going to do too much of violent content in the first place because I'm in this for a different reason. I don't really, that doesn't motivate me or thrive me to do a bunch of stories on criminal activities and who got shot. I could do that all day, but I don't want to. I don't want that energy. Every now and then it's necessary to speak on it because it's a part of hip hop. But I don't want the energy of every day talking about Quando Rondo, Lil Durk, right? King Von and all. I don't want to talk about that. I read about it, see it every day. I know a lot about those issues and subjects, right? And every day, there's another rapper somewhere that got killed that I can be commenting and talking on. I'll leave that to the other channels to do that. But I try to have open and honest hip-hop conversations. But at the same time, unless you're willing to roll in a lot of dirt, you're not getting the clicks. Some of those channels I mentioned, they're willing to roll in that dirt daily with no fear, no repercussion. I'm not going to be really participating in a lot of that energy. That's just me. But what I'm telling you is hip-hop media is being forced to choose. Say Cheese is being forced to choose. Let me put a whole bunch of Charleston White clips up. Right? Art of Dialogue is digging in the past, but he's grabbing a bunch of people that are really, for lack of a better word, I love that channel, but it's a lot of negativity that these guys are spewing about old stuff that you can't refute. And some of these guys are technically trolling. Remember Keith Murray got up there and started talking all this crazy stuff? He literally told somebody before he went on there, watch how much crazy stuff. I'm going to go viral because I'm going to tell a lot of shit that really didn't happen. I'm just going to say some crazy shit. I'm just going to be honest. That was what was said by a famous old school rapper. He said, Murray told me when he go up there, he was going to say some wild shit that wasn't true. Like the Foxy Brown stuff and this and that. And it went viral. We fed. Keith Murray is excellent. I did it, like I said, I used to be a promoter. I did at least 3-4 shows with Keith Murray, and I can attest that Keith Murray is a wild boy. Just gonna be honest. Keith Murray is a wild boy in real life. I got several stories. But he went up to Art of Dialogue purposely to troll, and it worked. And Art of Dialogue got the numbers, Keith Murray got the numbers. I remember when Keith Murray, deadass, didn't even have a social media page. He wasn't in the game like that. There's a lot of old school rappers didn't have a social media page because when I was doing shows, you couldn't find them. So I know for a fact that the game got to him and he got in it, right? And now I'm sure he wish he didn't because now they got pictures of him in some video of him in some very peculiar situations where he wasn't in the frame of mind that he should have been. But I digress. So what I'm saying is, we're boxed in by the fans. You tell us what to make. I'm just going to be honest. I try to get out of the bubble and do videos like this. And I know when I do these videos, they're not going to do the numbers that the Drake video is going to do. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing my Kendrick and Drake topic videos because there's always something new going on, right? And for the most part, you guys enjoy those videos. So it is what it is. If you like it, I love it. But I also want to do some other stuff, which I'm about to branch out. I'm making another channel for some more stuff. And I got another channel called it's called Old Heads Only. Y'all ain't over there at all. Right? I get it that we need to do more work. And we used to go live every week and we stopped. That's on me, right? I'm looking for a third person. So me and Dale could bounce ideas off somebody outside of our circle, right? But we got Old Heads Only channel. Every time Dale does a review, I put it up, right? Y'all don't care. We doing a lot of underground shit over there. I think we got 300 followers on that page, but it is what it is, right? So what I'm saying is, it's other things that we do, other things that I do, other stories to talk about. But if the people don't gravitate to it, we slow down on it. I slowed down on that channel. Dale slowed down on that channel. And that's what happens. We know the videos that's going to do well. So as a person who got to pay their bills and as a person who looks at those numbers every day, we're looking at those numbers every day. Everybody on that list, Curtis King, everybody is looking at those numbers every day. They're like, I did this video and that video and the third, and 2 of them joints ain't do shit. Because that means the people don't care about that topic or they don't want to click it. YouTube has so many analytics, gang. You would be surprised. Every video you put up, YouTube has a auto-generated breakdown. Fewer of your fans are interested in this video. It tells you. It's brutal, gang. It's brutal. Oh, the majority of your fans like this video. Oh, the majority of your fans aren't up at this time, but tomorrow they'll be back. Like it's the analytics are brutal. And as a YouTuber, you read that shit. So you're like, fuck, like you're in competition. They got apps now that you can follow other YouTubers and see how well you're doing versus them. It's brutal out here. And you're looking at a numbers game. So as we start to grow, right, we start to look at it like, now I've reached a certain level. I got to stay there. YouTube and algorithm presses you to do the same content. It's a whole thing that y'all don't understand, gang. That algorithm, if you become a channel that does the same certain content, they send you more people for that content. If you're a construction worker who you do videos about doing drywall and you just do that every day, they're going to start sending people who are looking for drywall information to your channel. As soon as you change it up and you start doing bathtub construction or you change something to something else, the algorithm is confused. And they won't send people. So what I'm saying is, this hip hop media doesn't want to confuse the algorithm. Once they find something, or we per se find something that sticks, we can't keep tinkering with it. Right? Sad to say, some of the stuff you guys don't know. There are so many analytics to this that these guys are not going to tell you. Right? I'm to a default, to my detriment. I am just too real in certain situations, but I'm just going to keep it a buck. So when you see us, these hip hop media guys, right? Some of these guys, I applaud them because they don't give a shit. They'll give you 4 Drake videos a day. They don't give a fuck. Right? I'm just going to be honest. They're like, listen, when it comes to Drake, they're right back at it. Like, this channel is Drake, my guy. Like, we're not doing nothing else. Listen, we in here. This is what I do. Right? And people like Sway, they fighting a good fight. Sway is having real artists on. Sway is doing what he's been doing for 30 years. Sway was doing this back when Tupac was alive. Sway interviewed Pac and everybody else. So Sway don't have no reason to change. But everybody doesn't have the grace of a Sway. And everybody doesn't have the access to artists. Let's just be honest. Will Smith, LL Cool J, they're going to sit down with Sway, all of them. Sway been in this game way too long. He has too much power. We don't have that power to sit down and have people coming in every day. Right? Talking to Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys. Yeah, remember when you did Renee? Like, we don't have that kind of cachet. It's a different animal, and y'all don't really want it. Like Sway chugs on so much, he can absorb those short videos that don't do well with the big ones. It's a constant. Once you constantly on this thing, you got a radio platform. It's a different animal. We don't have that. We don't have the access, so we can't operate that way. And a lot of these rappers and singers and this and that and the third, they don't want to give you the chance to try. A lot of them are foregoing interviews because they're not working for them anyway. I've seen some interviews do next to nothing. I've seen radio stations that they don't maintain their page right. So they'll get a big interview, right? Big, huge interview. This shit will have 400 views. It did nothing for the artist. Artist sat there with you for 45 minutes. The interview did 400 views. Because you don't really maintain your online presence anyway. I've seen a lot of radio stations fumble their online presence. We just had a radio station close up here in Rhode Island. And I'm like, how did I have more followers than the goddamn radio station that been around for 30 years? And this was when I only had 5,000 followers. I'm like, I have more followers than them. How is that possible? You've been around for 30 years. The channel just went out of business. This was the #1 station up here. Because they don't know what they're doing. They haven't figured out this. Some stations haven't figured it out. So these artists are like, I'm not going to keep fumbling around doing interviews that's not going to work for me. And all that comes under hip hop media. Everybody can't get on the Breakfast Club and sit down with Charlamagne. It ain't going to work. And they too, my friends, have algorithms and numbers they're trying to hit that they don't want to go beneath. They're not going to just have anybody on there either. So this hip hop media thing is tricky to maneuver for the artists. It's tricky for the people like me and Curtis King. Everybody has a niche. Everybody doesn't do one thing. I believe Curtis King got in talking about music, like his own music and underground artists. And I'm almost certain I've seen the shift from Curtis King from talking about underground music and how to get your music seen and heard. Now he's doing what most of the art media does, big stories like that. So we've all adjusted to this. I used to do album reviews. When I first got online, I have a whole nother channel. It's just album reviews, right? Just album reviews. And I was like, you know what? I'm sick of that because that takes too long because I'm way too thorough. So I find myself listening to an album. Even if I like it or don't, I'm listening to an album, a whole album, 5, 6, 7 times. I'm like, and then I'm writing all. I was like, this is too much. And people were more engaged than what I'm speaking about when I speak out of hip hop itself and the past things that I've been through and this and what my opinions. I was like, people are more interested in that than the actual damn record about when I'm doing an interview for a review for Damn, right? Going an hour talking about Kendrick and everything. They're more interested in when I start veering off talking about KRS-One and Rakim. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to start doing more hip hop commentary. But I think that you got to be brave to stick to that, because if you're trying to be successful in this business, and you got to find your niche, but that's going to take time, and it's going to be no one watching. To this day, I'll see videos come up in my feed. A guy will post something really interesting topic that don't have 7 views. It's 8 hours later. That's deflating. That's deflating. It's tough. So hip hop media, you want to be seen. You don't want to sit there and do a video, 25-minute long video, and you got 7 people watching, and that's it. So once you find your niche, you're going to stay in that bag, good, bad, or indifferent. Some of these guys, and just like me, we get tired of talking about Drake. We want to break the monotony. That's why we do break the monotony. If we have enough of a fan base to follow to that next thing, and kind of, they're not going to go all out, but they'll ride with you to the next topic, and then you can experiment, you can explore. But hip hop media itself right now, a lot of these guys can't explore, and a lot of them don't want to. A lot of them like the goofy stuff they're doing. Like Academics likes to be just a troll, just drama king. He wants to be the most boisterous voice in hip hop and so-called #1 and 2. And they got this list on who is it? Complex. They're doing the top 10 media. Listen, man, you just do your job. Complex can't tell you you're #1, #2. These people get really offended with this. And I'm going to say this now, and you can screenshot this and da-da-da. I don't care about ever being on that list. I could be #1, #2. Whatever they say is irrelevant, because I don't do this to be considered. This is the top hip hop media channel. I do this because this is what I want to do. I like what I do. I like to get in. I like when get in the comments and people are engaging and telling me, Challz, I like your work. That means more than some random person at Complex for some political reasons is going to put me on the list of top 9 and 10, I really don't trip off all that. Just gonna be honest. I don't even read the list because I don't really, the people that's on there, I don't watch them anyway. Because I'm not into half of that stuff. It's mostly gossip and drama, goofy stuff, and it's like, they really don't know nothing about hip hop. What does academics really know about hip hop? Right? Let's just be honest. I would say Vlad knows more about hip hop way more than academics about hip hop. But Vlad has to do his thing with the interviews and keep his channel going. So he does more of that than just hip hop. You can't just be hip hop, right? You can't just be, I'm just going to talk about hip hop music all day and all night. First of all, the artists right now, they ain't even making shit worth talking about. I'm just going to be honest. A lot of these artists are doing absolute trash. They're taking no time. A lot of them are doing drill. A lot of these dudes are imitating. They don't even know what hip hop is about or the rap that they're doing. They just imitating the guy that was hot last year and they imitating him, and that's it. A lot of these kids, they get in the studio, they just regurgitating each other. They're fighting each other. They're dissing their ops. It ain't nothing to sit down and talk to you about, young man. It really ain't. I'm not going to sit there and watch you roll up a blunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the interview. They're going to roll up a blunt. They're going to be drunk. They're going to be paying attention to everything in the background. They're not even tripping off the interview. Now, it's like these guys are so disrespectful. Why would you want to sit down with them in the first place? I can't sit through these interviews with these young rappers. I'm just going to be honest. They're too cool. They don't want to be there. Right? They're more so concerned with the ice they got on. They're going to tell you what that costs. Right? Then they're going to be like, aha, I can't answer that. They have the stuff they can't answer, won't answer. They're caught up in everything but what's going on at the time. It's like, who want to watch that but a child? I'm not a child. I don't want to watch silly shit. So it's like you're stuck with that or some bougie-ass artist that don't want to interview with you in the first place. So it's like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? I don't even watch interviews. I'm just going to be honest. I'll watch very seldomly. I'll watch an interview. I'll go on like Jonathan Major's interview, the actor. He was on Breakfast Club. Fascinating man. Fascinating interview, right? I'll catch one of those interviews. But it's not a lot of me checking for rappers. Rappers are so caught up in looking cool and not saying too much and not giving you too many clips that you can chop up and make them look bad. They're so worried about their image. They're either not going to do the interview or they're going to be guarded when they do it. And that's a problem with hip-hop media too. We can't, unless you're a Sway that has this, you have this personal connection where they feel protected there. They feel safe. So they know Sway not going to set them up. Even Kanye, you don't got the answer, Sway. He knew that Sway wasn't out to get him. You know that. But Kanye's an asshole. That's a whole nother subject. But Sway is making you feel comfortable. He's known these guys 15 years, 20 years. So they're going to respect that. And they're going to give you, they're going to open up to him. They're not going to open up to me. I ain't got Heather B sitting beside me, making them laugh. I don't have that. So they're going to be guarded. So it's like, what are we doing? Why am I interviewing somebody? You know what I'm saying? I am going to start interviews, but it's going to be more up and coming artists that I mess with, that I rock with. It's not going to be just anybody. You know what I'm saying? But all that's coming in the future. But that's hip hop media. And where we are is now, who wants to even sit through these interviews unless the artist is already bubbling, already popping, right? It's going to be a shift in this media where we got to get away from the drama. But right now, it's only drama. All of this stuff that we can even bring to you on these screens, you're not even clicking unless it's drama. And that's where hip hop media is at. We're in a bubble where it's like, yo, I would love to do the story on the new up and coming rap group. I would love to tell you about Razzkaz's son and all this other shit, but you're not going to watch it. You're going to scroll down, right, until you see Kanye hates J. Cole. You're going to click that because Kanye has you consumed about the next dumbass thing he's going to say, or the next weird thing Drake is going to try to do to move the units for this thing, or the next awesome thing that Kendrick is doing. You only want to hear about a couple things. You ain't got a lot of time to waste. You want to hear about the girl who made the call to get Scooter killed. You want to hear the drama. right? You want to hear about Young Thug's trial. You want to hear the drama. But that's part of the game. But we also have to understand that it's more to this game, and we need to understand that as fans, what you click matters, and what you gravitate to is going to move the needle toward what you want to see. Right? A lot of people in my comments, ignore Kanye, ignore him. How can I ignore him when you just click the video to tell me to ignore him? I'm doing 10,000 on a freaking video in an hour because you want to hear it. But then you're like, ignore him and he'll go away. No, he's not going away. You're not going away. And that's the thing. That's the conundrum that we face. Even Rob Marksman was like, yo, I don't want to talk about Drake every day. But he know that if he don't, that channel gonna start to go down. It's just, it is what it is. So we're gonna have to find a balance, gang. We're gonna have to find a balance, some kind of way where we can do more of what we do, and it don't always mean getting a secret channel. Because right now we got to get another channel. You know what I'm saying? We got to separate channels. Like, this is the channel that's gonna make money. Because I'm gonna sit here and talk about Drake and Kendrick and Kanye and J. Cole all fucking day. But it got to be a balance where that other channel can live too, and we can start to do some real work. When it's really good artists out here, we can find it. We can talk about it. We can talk about somebody's actual projects. I don't think we're talking about music. We're not talking about music. And even if we did or didn't like some sexy songs for you, we can't even have the conversation about just the songs. We got to talk about how fucking corny this guy is. That he did this, he did that. We're not even talking about the music from GNX. We're not talking about the music that's dropping from all these great artists. Do you realize I listen to a lot of great artists, gang? I don't just listen to Kenny all day and Drake. I listen to a lot of music. And it's sad because the artists, they got to do Freddie Gibbs and troll and make, you know what I'm saying? They got to do these viral moments just to keep their name buzzing. That's where we are. It's all about being able to get you to click things. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just where we are. It's just where we are. So again, the problem with hip hop media, to sum it all up, is we got to cater to you, and your taste buds are, we need it fast, we need it quick, and it needs to be exciting. And it needs to jive with what we already believe. A lot of people click these videos to hear somebody that agrees with their point of view. You click these videos to hear someone tell you what you already believe. Let's just be honest. I saw a dude put up a video. I saw it this morning. He said, my GOAT, the greatest entertainer alive, Drake, has dropped a new video. It was an obviously pro Drake video. That shit had 7 views in 8 hours. People don't want to hear how great Drake is. They just don't. I'm sorry. And bro will learn. Or he won't. Maybe he's just like, yo, fuck, this is a Drake channel. I don't care if nobody's watching. My GOAT is back. That's what he wrote. That's what he wanted to say. And he doesn't understand that right now. That's not the algorithm, gang. Let's just be honest. That's not moving the needle on this platform. There's not a lot of pro Drake. I don't know why. I have no idea. But you don't have channels thriving with a lot of pro Drake content. Once they realize you're pro Drake, they're not coming back. It is what it is. Don't blame me. I'm just the messenger. And I said, damn, young boy gonna have a problem building this channel. He picked the wrong time to try to be pro Drake. It is what it is. So what I'm saying is, as a collective, we got to understand more than two things can be true. And we got to understand, when you don't click these videos and you don't, like I did the video last week, the internet is killing hip hop. It's a slow grind, it's a slow video, but I knew when I put it up, but it was important to me. And I'm going to have more of these conversation videos, and people say, listen, these are the videos I really want you to make. They said, these are the videos, the conversations that I like to have, and I like to have them with you. But at the same time, I'm not going to drop down just to have a bunch of random conversations that no one's watching. So it is what it is. Just keep in mind, when you start complaining about, why are you doing this? Or ignore this guy, or stop making this guy famous, you click the video and you add it to it. All right? On that note, we all just people, gang, and we got certain quotas to meet, and we're going to meet them. Good, bad, or indifferent. And we don't hate talking about the same thing all the time, but at the same time, we want to broaden our thing and be a real platform. It should be where we can talk about mass stuff, and all of it matters. All of it matters. All of it gets clicks. But the internet right now and YouTube is so narrow. You gotta be inside that bubble If you ain't in that zeitgeist of what they're talking about right now on the Shade Room or Hot New Hip Hop, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're not right in that bubble of what everybody's talking about, you get left behind. Even on Twitter, anywhere. If you're not in that little drama bubble, you're getting left behind. It is what it is. I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know what you think in the comments. CLBMG. I'm gonna catch y'all on that flip side. Peace.
Look, mission impossible to drop a few lines without dropping old times when Southern Hill was still a gold mine. When pistol grips was my shit and I sold mine. When Alias was not a show and they told mine.
CLB.